Hello, good morning, and welcome back to CS 492F, Futures of the World. I hope you all have survived the exhausting midterm exam week and are ready to join another session. So today it's going to be about topic B, the futures of geopolitics, politics and geopolitics, and governance. As usual, we're going to have two sessions on this topic, and the topic will be presented and the discussion will be led by three students, by Yeonwoo Choi, by Taehyun Ki, and by Donghyun Kim. And I'd like to ask the three students to introduce themselves and to indicate how they're going to plan for their presentation, how they're subdividing the presentation. Yes, and could you go ahead and introduce yourself and your plan for today's session?
Hello, we are Team B, and my name is Yeonwoo Choi, and other people.
Hello, my name is Taehyun Ki.
My name is Donghyun, and we're gonna discuss about the geopolitics of the asymptotic future. Just hope you enjoy. Yeah, then let's gonna start.
Can you see?
Okay.
Yes. We will talk today about future geopolitics and governance. Today we plan to make a presentation focusing on geopolitics, and Friday focusing on governance. First, what is geopolitics? Geopolitics is a combination of geography and politics that explores how geopolitical conditions and economies influence politics and interrelationships between countries. Simply put, it is to study the political, military, and economic impact of the geopolitical environment in the country from a macro perspective. Now, what is the world's great power? Most of the time you will think of the United States. Why did the United States become a great power? There are many things, but there is a big geopolitical reason among them. Otto von Bismarck of Germany in the 19th century said this: God takes special care of the foolish, the drunks, and the Americans. So much so that the United States had a overwhelming advantage of geopolitical warfare. There are three major geopolitical advantages in the United States. A system of self-sufficiency that occurs early in a friendly natural environment, and geopolitical isolation from competitors, and finally, friendly natural environment. The Mississippi River, which runs through the Midwest, has an overwhelming advantage in its size and fertility compared to its own country. Also, it is difficult to assess from the surrounding because of the blocking of ice from Canada above and the desert from Mexico below. The power of geography book says that the United States is a country that cannot be invaded or conquered. This geopolitical advantage has set the stage for the United States to become a global power. And so what about Russia? From Europe to Asia, Russia has a very large territory. Unlike the United States, Russia had little geographical advantage. Unlike the US, which prevented the natural environment from being an external threat, Russia, which borders Europe on the plains, has continued to be affected by Northern Europe. There is also no harbor, as the sea is covered in ice with the Arctic Ocean above. Russia cannot dominate the sea geopolitically, and as a result, it cannot become a powerhouse in the United States. So Russia took the port of Crimea in Ukraine to get the port. Because of this, the Russia-Ukraine war was inevitable in the future. Another geopolitical reason for this war to happen is Moscow, the Russian capital, cannot prevent enemy invasion because of its terrain. So Russia has been fighting for hundreds of years to keep its borders away from Moscow and to get its natural barriers. Ukraine has been one of the barriers to protecting Russia from Europe powers, and it has more geopolitical importance than any other country. Ukraine has a border to the mountains and beyond. This is the land Russia conquered during the Soviet area and handed over to Ukraine, which is a military point of Russia. As such, Ukraine has various geopolitical advantages that Russia does not have. That's why there was a war between Ukraine and Russia trying to join NATO. As such, geopolitics is a very important point for each country. What about geopolitics in the future? First of all, the geopolitics of the world will change with the consequences of the war in Russia and Ukraine. Then what about geopolitics in Korea? The most important thing about Korea's geopolitics characteristics is that it is a peninsula. Due to the nature of the peninsula, our country can be a battlefield for neighboring countries or a hub for maritime trade network. Due to the division with North Korea, our country has become more geopolitical than a peninsula. Due to a blockage of land route, Korea, which relies on marine trade 99.7%, has developed trade and export to become a maritime powerhouse. What would happen if Korea's sea route were blocked in the future? The Korean economy will collapse and in the natural economy itself will collapse due to lack of resources and food resources. As such, our Korea must pay attention to the future of the ocean. China and the United States are comparing for global hegemony. Now that the US is dominating the sea, China is also trying to make the Western Pacific their territory. In this respect, the Korea Peninsula is one of the important places for China. Our country should pay great attention to the maritime war between China and United States and future geopolitics.
So this is my part, actually, okay. So, in ancient times to the mid-centuries, actually there was a the whatever fantasies of the Indians has been recognized, not only for the reason that they are somewhat mysterious world, but the most important part is that the spices were necessary to make some food and to store food as long as possible. But approaching the India from the Europeans, or especially from the Western countries, are very hard. It was very hard route. So, like somewhat in the Roman empires, in the era of the Roman Empire, they're going through starting from the Sicilia to reach the Egypt, and through the Hormuz, another Hormuz, but the Suez, and reaching to the India. But this route was very inefficient, and not only for just getting some spices for making food or store food, but they are able to sell these kind of spices to the other people with so much prices. So it was kind of like um um such as very fancy and luxurious product. So the question is that because of the global warming, that where should be the India of the next century? The global warming makes the plants cannot grow in the south latitude, I mean longitude, but into the northern pole, and also the going to much south or north each one hemisphere. So the price of the black pepper was going high from like the 19th century, starting from the Industrial Revolution, and people needs much more destoration. And we want to find that actually that what global warming, because that is the asymptotic future of human mankind, at least at 100 years before we develop the very clean and carbon-free, developing the carbon-free energy. So we're gonna watch about the Bordeaux's, the wine, but point is that the climate change changes the taste of the Bordeaux's wine.
The Bordeaux of the future has a very different taste, which is potentially bad news for the wine capital of the world. The whole industry, 14,000 wine growers, 600 million liters each year, could be in danger.
So what will the future taste like? The Bordeaux region will see increasingly extreme weather conditions, stronger storms, droughts, and increased temperatures of some 2 to 4 degrees. Now, hotter temperatures mean that grapes will ripen faster and with more sugar. That means there'll be an earlier harvest time, and that could lead to Bordeaux losing its iconic flavor.
For now, the quality of the wine has improved because of climate change, a blessing for wine growers like Philippe Bardet. His family has owned this property since 1704, and today produces the prestigious Saint-Emilion Grand Cru. But that doesn't mean the Bardet family isn't already bracing itself for what's to come.
We're seeing warming temperatures. Is it always a problem?
For now, for making cellaring wines like we do here in Saint-Emilion, it's great, pure bliss.
So it's not all bad.
It's great, but we know that some tendencies can get excessive, and we are beginning to understand what's happening in order to take measures so that this upward swing of increased quality doesn't end up being excessive, but remains exceptional. For example, grapes used to lay a lot closer to the ground to receive the soil's warmth from the sun. Now we are doing the opposite. We are pulling the grapes up and moving them away from the ground so that the soil's warmth interferes as little as possible with the grape's maturity. We are trying to limit the amount of sugar in the grapes. My ancestors developed the Merlot because it was the grape variety that was best suited to the climate in the 40s, 50s, 60s, or 70s. Now we've understood that in hot areas where grapes ripen prematurely, well, we ought to plant more Cabernet Sauvignon instead of Merlot. Merlot will always be the most important grape type in Bordeaux, even if its presence is bound to diminish.
So as you see in this video, the grapes, especially for the making wines, the Bordeaux wines is always one of the best wineries in the world. But because of the climate change from the recent decades or couple of decades, because of that, they changed their wines type. Originally, it was from the Merlots, but it has become now as the Cabernet Sauvignon. Like after a decade or like after 2 decades, then it could be the Shiraz or whatever the most quite resistant to the worms. And this is quite worrying futures about the worrying asymptotic futures of getting new wineries inside of the world. Well, we are not already having some very nice wineries only for the Bordeaux, but also the Napas and the Californias and others also. So this is the example of how climate changed the industries, especially for the agriculture. It really tends to linking it because it really depends on the nature's condition, the warmth and the humidities, and also the other part of it. So, well, we can expect that Merlots could be grown from the much northern longitudes, like the Germans near the Line coast, or already we did it, but we have done it, but we expected that it could be better than just normal Bordeaux wine, as known as the premium wine of all wines. So I'll show you about this European map, especially about the Ukraine also. So Ukraine is the almost one of the top of the growing out agricultures of the wheat. Almost the world's like half or 40% of the wheat is come from Ukraine. But the Ukraine's, I know that the wheat is not very dependent on the weather, but if the global climate is going to like go like 1.5% Celsius going high or whatever it over it, then we might get very high variances of the temperatures, especially on winter and summer, and then we should doubt about the results of that kind of climate change, especially for wheat. What could, even if in the war between the Russia and Ukraine, we have very high rises of the inflations because of the agricultural prices going up, of the wheat prices going up. But what if their asymptotic future is increases of the wheat prices in almost forever and almost going up like twice or triple times go up? The European economics is also closely tied with the Eastern Europe's agricultural, not only for the wheat, but also the growing cows and making milks from the Poland. So we need to care about these kind of asymptotic future if we did not reduce that kind of carbon emissions inside of it. And this kind of prediction is the NASA's prediction about the global agriculture within 10 years. So I will just show it briefly because there is no.
We're already
models. Well, you know that the wheat is growing at least at 2050, but after that, because of the stress to the heat, it could be decreased. So, and also the corn. Corn is really stressed on the heat and will decrease about 24% up by 2099 by the expectations. So we need to think about these consequences of what if we keep emitting the carbon dioxide and what could be the asymptotic futures of emitting carbon dioxide, and it links with the industries of the geopolitics of the asymptotic future. So my part is done. I will hand up, move to the Taeyeon.
Hello, my name is Taeyeon and I'm going to talk about the geopolitics of climate change. In this presentation, I explain the future of climate change, and next I'll explain about impacts and results of climate change and connect those things with geopolitics. Looking at this figure, we can know the temperature changes are rapidly increasing the CO2 with CO2 emission. In recent 20 years, we produced lots of CO2, and those CO2 heat in the atmosphere, and it caused the increasing of the temperature. And also ocean warming is progressing with the temperature increasing. By those climate changes, sea levels are rising and extreme weather phenomena are occurring. And many geopolitical issues are also emerging. Let's look at this figure. Scientists expect sea level rise to affect Earth's coastline significantly in the coming centuries, even under the most modest scenarios. If we reach zero CO2 emissions, global mean sea level will be just 1 meter. But if we keep emissions stabilized by 2100, then global mean sea level will be between 1 and 2. In the high emission scenario, our global mean sea level goes almost 4 meters. By this sea level rising, the territory of coastal nations will begin to submerge into the sea, and it will prompt the migration of the country's citizens. Next, extreme weather events such as hurricanes, floods, and wildfires will occur, and it will cause several damages to both people and infrastructures. In addition to the damages, these disasters may trigger the migration of populations. People want to seek safer and more stable living conditions, and conflict, so people will migrate to other country. And maybe some conflict may arise with the countries that will accept these immigrants. By the result of climate change, it will bring some conflict between countries. And these conflicts can be intensified by some factors. including resource competition and the scarcity of vital resources such as water, crops, energy, and arable land. As countries struggle to these resources for their citizens, tensions can rise. Furthermore, the geopolitical conflict can be made, and because of the competition for Arctic shipping routes, and also some countries can have dissatisfaction with international climate agreement. Also, the migration, as I mentioned before, migrations can arise some conflict. But the countries are cooperating to solve the climate problems. Yes, and the example is the Paris Climate Agreement. This agreement is at the center of global effort and has several important goals. One is to protect and grow forests to capture greenhouse gases from the atmosphere. Another key goal is to restrict the global temperature rise to 2 Celsius. And also the agreement aims to align financial support with this objective and seeks to limit the temperature rise to 1.4 Celsius while improving the ability to adjust the climate changes. And this is our discussion list. Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful. This was an extremely original presentation. I'm very impressed. Right, so let's take a brief break for now, about 3 minutes, for everybody to digest and to recall the 3 presentations today. And then we proceed to discuss the vision, not the quality. We will discuss the quality and give feedback for future presentations later. So first some break, and then we'll discuss questions and suggest different visions about the future of politics, geopolitics, and governance. Okay, so remember the 3 presentations. First presentation was focused on geopolitics, like United States, Russia, and Korea. Second presentation was about how climate change will affect crop production. The third topic was about how climate change and rising sea levels will create conflicts. And yes, so brief pausing right now. Okay, and here we're back, ready to discuss the visions presented here. And yes, 3 presenters are visible. That's great. And now it's the turn of the other students, the other participants, to yeah, to bring in their opinion, to make some questions and to discuss. So don't be shy, unmute yourself, turn on your video, and add your remarks. Yeah, that's the spirit. Okay, so here's one possible topic we're discussing. So how about the trade-off between being an isolated country and being a country connected to other countries? So for example, Europe is very well connected. You can easily travel by train from, let's say, Portugal, which is on the west end of Europe, to, let's say, Italy, or up to close to Russia, right? So like Bulgaria, it's very connected, right? And this is an important issue about the electrical power supply, because these countries share their electrical power production and their electrical power consumption. On the other hand, we have isolated countries like South Korea, which it's hard to travel anywhere else, because the south, there's a sea separating Korea from Japan, and to north, there's political obstacle, right? And then we have a continent like Australia, which is maybe even more isolated. It's even more difficult from Australia to get anywhere. So in the past, being isolated had some benefits. For example, Australia was never really involved in a war, right? Japan was, Korea was, and Europe was really plagued by wars. And what do you think in the future? Is it going to be beneficial or disadvantageous to be immersed in a collection of other countries like in Europe? Or do you think it's going to be more beneficial to be isolated like South Korea and Australia? Now you realize this is a very open question. This is not a question where there's a right and wrong answer. That's the art of making questions that create a discussion. So why doesn't just somebody tries to defend the point that it's going to be beneficial, and someone else then jumps in and supports the point that it's going to be disadvantages, just for the matter of creating a discussion, right? Dialogue. Dialogue comes from Greek. Dia means two, and log, words. That means two opposing opinions discuss, and in the end, there's not going to be a definite answer.
I'm not sure that the presenter can talk, but the situation goes awkward, so I'll try to break this awkward at first. As you said, it is also somewhat the point of the geopolitics. It's the isolated countries. Actually, China is also the isolated country. They're trying to unifying them, and the European countries, they're trying to dividing them. But actually, currently today is quite united with under the European Union, but they have their own cultural characteristics, especially the Germans, France, and the England. They all have different cultural backgrounds. But my point of view that the diversity itself is a very good one, not as like the unifying and making culture as one is not a good thinking. Well, when like someone in the ancient civilization like the Qing or I mean not a Qing but Qin and Ming, that kind of the old age, then it would be great because they have same thoughts and same ideas. And if the emperors said something, then they were gonna do that. But in a current today, in today, well, we have very enormous scientific uh, advantages or enormous scientific discoveries, and this come from actually from the diversity, not the just unifying peoples inside of it. It is just only dealt with somewhat constructions or the militaries. So I think that um, diversifying diversifying countries are more likely to be good in the geopolitics level in a point of the developments. But yeah, but not on current. I mean, I don't want to be. I don't want to say that there should be the war between the different cultural backgrounds. But I think that as concluded, just diversifying some cultural backgrounds as near country would be great to have more developed and sophisticated countries.
Thank you. Yes, that's a very good perspective. How about someone from the audience, someone who did not contribute to today's presentation, share some opinions? And just to add another open-ended question, how about the future of Africa, right? Africa is a huge continent with many countries. Oh, Ayman is raising her hand. Yes, Ayman, please go ahead.
Okay, I would like to add to what he said.
Yes.
I think that while isolation can be good, it also has disadvantages when it comes to access to resources and technology, especially because isolated countries would have limited access to crucial resources that are available through international cooperation.
Yes, yes. Good point. Thank you. And anyone may want to make comment on the future, geopolitical future of Africa? Right. So in a sense, Africa is also very well connected as Europe, right? Only on much larger scale of distances, right? You could, in principle, travel from one African country to another by train, but it would take like days or even weeks, right? Africa is also maybe a future of solar power production, right? Any comments on that? Okay, no, yes, Amen.
When like you said, Africa has a great future when it comes to solar power and also many other natural resources because it is very natural resources like minerals and oils. However, it also has so many security challenges like conflicts, terrorism. So it would be quite a challenge and would take so many years to get there.
It's a great perspective. Thank you. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I see it's tough getting into a discussion today, but never mind, no problem. So for now, let's wrap up discussing the content. Let's give a big round of applause to the three presenters and speakers today, virtual or video applause. Thank you so much. They did a great job, really highly original. And now I'm going to turn off the recording, right? So everything from now on will be literally off the record.